Welcome back to All Classics Restoration. Today we are working on a 1965 Chrysler 300. This car belongs to a customer of mine who I have another project here for, but he also has this car that needed some things done to it. It's been sitting for a while. It needed a fuel pump, which I did at his house, and then it had some leaks from the transmission, so he brought the car back over here to the shop, and he just wanted me to give it a good look over, fix the transmission leaks, and a couple other maintenance items. So while I was checking things, one of the things I wanted to look at was tune-up parts. I had no history on this car, didn't know when the last time it was tuned up, so we went ahead and checked the plugs. Plugs were good, looked at the cap and rotor, which were in pretty good shape, and also checked the points. Yes, this car still has points, and the points looked a little tight to me. And this is a lesson in how things can go sideways real fast. So I went ahead and reset the point gap according to what the tune-up specifications are in my manual that I have, which was 17 thousandths of an inch. When I reset the points to the proper setting, the car ran not good. Ran on about 4 cylinders, backfired, farted, sputtered, popped out the carburetor. Couldn't figure out why. Went back in, checked, thought maybe something happened with the cap, had a crack, carbon trail, switched the cap, didn't make a change, reset everything. Anyhow, I probably had the cap off and on 10 times, just looking at the points and whatnot, trying to figure out what was going on. During one of those times of taking the rotor off, I noticed that the shaft moved, and it moved quite a bit. So I thought to myself, well, this car's got how many miles on it? It's the original distributor, points distributor. This thing is shot. So the bushings in the distributor ended up being bad, and the only way I could get the car to run right was to set the points back by eye, close to that small point gap that it had when I first looked at it, and it actually runs pretty good there. And I think it's because that shaft is moving and it's varying the point gap. Now, being as this is not a high performance car, you really don't notice much of a difference in the way it runs, because in all honesty, you're not taking this thing up above much 2,500, 3,000 RPM at the most. But if you sit and you bring the RPMs up 3,000, 4,000 RPM, you do get a misfire, you get some not well running conditions. So that's telling me that, reaffirming, I should say, that this distributor is shot. So I discussed it with the customer, and I said, look, it needs a new distributor, and if you're going to go ahead and replace the distributor, we might as well convert it over to electronic ignition, and this way you never have to worry about setting the point gap on it ever again. So that's what we're going to do today. We're going to remove the distributor that's in this thing. I've got a kit in from Summit Racing, the Proform electronic distributor kit. It comes with the distributor, cap, rotor, ignition module, and the wiring harness to set everything up. New ballast resistor. So we're going to go ahead and get into that, and I'm going to walk you through it step by step. Okay, I just wanted to give you an idea of what I was talking about. So I've got the cap and rotor removed from the distributor. So this is the upper part of the shaft, and as you can see, it's hard to see here, but this shaft wobbles, and it has a lot of play in it. It should not be moving back and forth like that in the housing. And it gets worse as you loosen up the distributor clamp that holds the housing in. It starts to move even more. So this is why we're going to go ahead and replace this. You can see that moving around in there. And we're going to eliminate all the problems we have here. There'll be no more points to worry about setting. And this will make this car run 10 times better. So one of the first things we want to do is note the position of our distributor. So we know our rotor is pointing right here at our valve cover. These distributors can only go in two ways. It's either on time or it's 180 degrees out. So we know we got our contact is pointing at our valve cover, so that when we put the distributor back in, the new distributor in, our rotor needs to be pointing at the valve cover and not at the left front fender. So here's our kit that we got from Summit Racing. It's a Proform kit. It comes with the distributor, cap, rotor, ignition module, ballast resistor, wiring harness, and some miscellaneous connectors and screws that we need to install everything on this car. Now, Summit Racing has several electronic ignition kits listed for a 383 low deck big block Chrysler. This was one of the, I'm going to say, one of the more affordable ones. So it was a choice between this one, and they had another kit that was a Mopar certified or licensed kit, and it's the same kit. Basically, you were paying $40 more for the Mopar licensed kit, just so the distributor said Mopar instead of Proform. How do I know that it's the same exact kit? Well, I was curious about what the warranty was on the components for this kit, so I clicked on the warranty information, and a box popped up that said Proform Corporation limits this warranty for blah 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 blah, whatever it said. So when I looked at the Mopar licensed kit and I clicked on the same warranty information, the same exact box came up that said Proform warranties this kit for X amount of days for blah 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 blah. So that tells me right there that they're the exact same kits. Only you're paying $40 more to have your distributor say Mopar instead of Proform. Oh my. Look, we're not out for performance on this car. We're just looking for some good solid reliability without any more hassles of having to set points and change the tune-up and check things. That was the main interest of this car. This is not a car that's going to be going down the drag strip, turning 5,000 to 6,000 RPM. All it has to do is be reliable, and that's all I care about. Alright, so the first thing we want to do is get our distributor, our old distributor, out. So we're going to loosen up the hold down here, 1/2 inch wrench, 5/16 bolt, and you do have to remove the bolt and the hold down out of the way. We'll take off our vacuumed line. Bolt. There's our hold down. Put that up there out of the way. And we also need to remove our wire from the negative side of the coil. It's just a 3/8. Take the nut off. Have this noise suppressor that's on here for the radio. Keeps static out of the radio. And here's our wire. And then the distributor just lifts out. It's just that easy. Now we're going to see just how wore this is. Top bushings in this distributor are just, they're not good. This rocks back and forth in here. You can see that moving around, which is going to throw your points setting off. So that's why we're replacing this. Pretty dirty. So again, now we just take our new distributor, and we know our vacuum canister was sitting in about this position with the rotor pointing at our valve cover here, which I have it pointing towards me, and should be able to just slip this right back in. Let's see if we can get these wires out of the way. Our heater hoses are kind of right in the way where our wires come out of the distributor at for our plug, and we'll go ahead and put the new cap on and transfer the wires into the new cap. Alright, so in our kit, our wiring harness comes with a set of wires here. One set goes to our plug on our distributor. It's got the molded connector on it. We've got that just loosely plugged in just to kind of get these wires set up. And then we've got 3 wires that come out of the ignition module that power up and get the signal to the coil. So the green wire is not used, hasn't been used in these Chrysler ignition systems in many years. I don't even know why they give you that wire anymore, but so we have this black and yellow wire, and this one is the one that goes to our coil to turn our coil on and off. Just like the wire that would come out of your points distributor to the negative side of your coil. When the points are opening and closing, it shuts and turns and shuts off the coil, allows it to fire its spark. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to get our length set for this wire. We're going to keep these together, I think, and we're going to run it underneath here. I don't know if I'm going to have to trim any off of here. It doesn't look like it. Maybe a little bit. And this wire, nope, we won't need to trim anything off of this. We'll just be able to put that right down in there. We're going to put a ring terminal on that wire with some heat shrink, and that'll leave our connection to the coil set. Okay, so that leaves our trigger wire set to our coil. And like I said, we've got enough wire here, we can just pull that in here. I'm going to tidy up these wires when I'm done. So the last connection we need to make is with our blue and yellow wire, and this needs to be our 12 volt power source with the key on, and it has to have 12 volt power when the key is in the run position and also in the start position. So I have to check the original ballast resistor to see if we have power on both of our run and start positions. Otherwise, I'm going to need to run my power source from a different place where it's got 12 volt power all the time with the key on. Alright, I took a quick run to the parts store. I needed to get some terminals that I needed, and what we've done here is just made a short pigtail off of our one feed to our ballast resistor. And this is the wire that has the 2 wires coming into it from the factory. So we've again doubled this here, so this continues to feed to the ballast resistor, but also feeds 12 volts off here on this blue wire. And this is a piece of blue wire that I had that I needed to extend the length from our ECM, and it will go over and run over here, and we're going to connect this blue wire to our blue and yellow wire, so that'll give our ECU, that's right here, that'll give our ECU its 12 volt feed during cranking and also in the run position. So I'm going to go ahead and finish tidying up this wiring, and that should leave us pretty good as far as being able to see if we've completed everything correctly, and we can get the car to fire up. Okay, so now I've got my blue and yellow wire attached to my extended piece of wire. I used a red crimp butt connector and took the center out, and I soldered this together so to make sure I have a really good connection here with no resistance there, and we'll get a nice good 12 volts going to our ECU. So I'm just going to finish routing this wire. I'm going to wire tie it to the main wire harness that runs along the valve cover here, just so it's not flopping around all over the place. And that should be about it once we get that done. Plug that back in, and that should be about it. Now our green wire that is not used, I'm just going to clip it off here where it comes out of the harness, since this is not used. And I will get a clamp and attach this here to the fender well. Well, let's go ahead and see if we get anything out of our distributor. All right, there we go. Well, I can tell you one thing, it does rev up a lot nicer. Before, when I would bring the RPMs on this up past about 2,500, 3,000 RPM, the engine would start to stumble and not run smooth. This sounds a whole lot better. Set our timing. See our mark down there. A little hard to see, but set the timing at 10 degrees, which is the factory setting. And for some reason, this carburetor does not have a ported vacuum supply to go to our distributor vacuum advance. So you've got vacuum advance at idle, which raises our idle speed, and also, wowee, gives us 28 degrees of initial timing. 28 degrees timing at idle with the vacuum canister, the vacuum advance hooked up, manifold vacuum, which is the only vacuum port that this carburetor has. So, I'm guessing that's how this car was from the factory. But you're not going to have 28 degrees during cranking. You're only going to have 10 degrees advanced cranking. As soon as it starts up, you're going to have 28 degrees. The mechanical advance is going to give you the rest of your timing increase, and it should come in pretty quick, which should make this car run pretty good. Okay, so our idle speed set at about 780, 770. That's pretty good idle speed. That should be good. So there you have it. There's a quick and easy installation of one of these electronic ignition conversion kits. These are really nice. If your car still has points and you're not wanting to have to fool with points anymore and you'd like to go to one of these, I can recommend that you try this Proform kit. Again, it has everything you need in it. It comes with the wiring harness, the ECU, your distributor with the cap and rotor already in it, a new ballast resistor if your system doesn't have one or it needs a new one. Now this system, we use the original ballast resistor, which is working fine. We just had to make a little pigtail, like I showed you, for our power supply to the ECU, one wire to the coil, plug in the connector to the new distributor, get your timing set, and away you go. So the next thing we have to do is test drive this car, and I'm not taking you with me. So thanks again for watching. I hope this helps somebody that's considering doing one of these conversions to your car. It's a very easy job. It maybe took an hour's time at the most. Car time, it may vary from car to car, but typically it's going to take you an hour to change one of these. A small block, maybe a little bit longer with the distributor in the back. A small block kit is going to be essentially the same procedure, only your distributor, again, is at the rear of the engine. The big block Chryslers are nice with having the distributor at the front. It makes it really easy to do one of these. So again, thanks for following along. Hit that bell notification. Subscribe if you haven't done so already. Give me some comments. Give me a like. Share the video. We'll see you next time.